How can that child who is like cotton all day at school or with their babysitter turn into a cold stone the very first second they see you? While everyone else talks about how compliant they are, why do they display their crankiest, grumpiest, and worst self only when they're with you? Does your child not love you? Or is there an immense proof of love hidden in the back rooms of the human mind behind this crankiness? Today, we are going to try to unravel the staggering neurological secret behind that famous after-school restraint collapse moment that consumes parents with guilt. Sit back, let's get started. Part 1. Cognitive Load and After-School Restraint Collapse. To understand the inexplicable anger and crankiness your child exhibits the first moment they see you, we must first look at the massive battle they wage in their minds while away from you all day. Adults wear certain social masks in the outside world. When we get angry at our boss, we don't yell. When we get bored waiting in line, we don't cause a scene. Because the prefrontal cortex, located in the frontal region of our brain, the center of logic and self-control, is fully developed and reigns in our emotions. A child's prefrontal cortex, however, is still under construction. It is a tremendous marvel of biological engineering, but its capacity is currently extremely limited. While your child is away from home, they exert a very high cognitive effort to comply with those complex social rules at daycare or the park. They hold their tears when a friend takes their favorite red car. When the teacher says, "It's activity time," we sit quietly. They suppress those primal urges that actually want to run and jump. They spend all their energy trying to appear compliant to cope with the noise, lights, and rules of a foreign environment. However, this self-control system has a lifespan, just like a phone battery. For a young child, being good all day is like carrying a boulder weighing tons on their back. To be accepted, approved, and not excluded in the outside world, they swallow their fears, bottle up their disappointments, and bury their anger deep down. They build a massive emotional dam inside their mind. But when evening comes and the door opens, and that moment they see you, the gates of that massive dam in their brain suddenly shatter. In the world of psychology, this phenomenon is called after-school restraint collapse. Your child doesn't suddenly turn into a bad person when they see you. On the contrary, they have found the place where they can safely unload that toxic emotional burden they've been accumulating all day. Those crying fits, throwing themselves on the floor, and causeless whining are actually the brain's way of resetting itself, of venting excess pressure. When they see you, they no longer need to wear a social mask or hold themselves back. Home is an emotional locker room for them. But that's not the main thing. The magnitude of this crankiness is actually hidden proof of how wonderful the bond between you is. Here is where the real secret begins. Part 2. The secure attachment paradox and the safe haven in the world. One of the questions parents ask most in despair, and the one that hurts the most, is this. Okay, I understand they're tired, but why don't they do this to their father, grandmother, babysitter, or teacher, but only and exclusively to me? Why am I always paying the bill? The answer lies in the secret of secure attachment, the cornerstone of modern developmental psychology. The decades-long observations of John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, the founders of attachment theory, have proven that human offspring are born with a highly ruthless and equally brilliant emotional test mechanism. A child cannot show their true feelings to anyone around whom they don't feel 100% unconditionally safe. If your child is incredibly quiet, compliant, and obedient around others, this doesn't always mean they are very happy or very well behaved around those people. Sometimes it means they lock their emotions away tightly because they are afraid of being vulnerable, being rejected, or losing their love around those people. The child's brain makes this calculation. If I yell at my daycare teacher, she might not love me. She might get mad at me. I can't show weakness in the outside world. I must be on guard. But when they come to you, that brain suddenly relaxes. The fact that they display their crankiest, most intolerant, most irrational, and worst self around you is actually one of the greatest, deepest rewards a child can give a parent. In those moments of crisis, your child's brain sends you this unspoken message. I trust you so much. I am so sure of your love for me that I can lay even my ugliest, most shattered, and darkest self before you. I know that no matter what I do, no matter how irrationally I behave, you will not abandon me even like this. You are my sanctuary. Your child's bad behavior around you is staggering proof that the bond between you is unshakable and that you are the sole safe haven in their mind. They are not using you as a punching bag, they see you as a life jacket that keeps them alive. So what physically happens in the child's brain during this chemical storm of emotional unloading? Could these crises that look like spoiling to us actually be a biological cry for help? Part 3. Cortisol discharge and being the child's emotional container. Minor crises, frustrations, and boundary violations experienced in the outside world cause stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to accumulate in the child's body. The adult brain can discharge these toxic substances from the body by passing them through the filter of logic, by talking to themselves, or by confiding in a friend. However, a child's brain does not possess this massive system update. Their nervous system cannot digest this chemical load on their own. When the child comes home, walks through the door, and catches your safe scent, the accumulated cortisol level in their body has reached an unbearable point. The bad behaviors, throwing themselves on the floor, and crying experience in that moment are actually like the manifestation of physical pain. The moment the child sees you, their brain gives this command: the savior has arrived. You no longer have to look strong. You can expel this poison. Right at this point, one of the hardest roles of parenting comes into play: being the emotional container. This concept, put forward by the famous psychoanalyst Wilfred Bion, describes the container and contained relationship. According to Bion, a child's emotions are raw, sharp, and hard to swallow. The parent's duty is to take in those massive and scary emotions that the child cannot digest, break down, or name, like a container, process them in the filter of their own mind, soften them, and give them back to the child in a calmer, more bearable form. When your child attacks you with anger, when they cry for no reason, when you don't respond to them with the same anger, when you can take a deep breath and stay calm, you upload this tremendous life lesson into their brain. Look, this massive emotion didn't destroy me. I'm here and standing strong. Therefore, this emotion won't destroy you either. This is just a temporary storm, and we're in this storm together. While your child is behaving badly towards you, they are actually plugging into your mature nervous system and borrowing your calmness. What they are doing in that moment is not a personal attack on you or being spoiled. It is a desperate cry of help reaching out to you to put out that blazing chemical chaos in their brain, to regulate them. They're extinguishing their own flames in your cool waters. But we are not robots either. Sometimes our day has been a disaster too. Our dams are full too. When our child walks through that door and explodes at us, our patience runs out and we yell at them too. So what happens then? Is that secure bond completely broken? In this back room of the human mind, is a repair possible for a fractured relationship? Part 4. The cycle of rupture and repair. One of the biggest and most toxic misconceptions in the parenting world is the belief that children always need perfect parents who are calm, always understanding, and act like masters in every moment of crisis. This is an unattainable dream. However, developmental psychology, accompanied by neuroscience, offers us a much more comforting, much more human reality: rupture and repair. Psychological research has proven that it's not the perfect parents who never make mistakes — we should investigate if such a person even exists — but the parents who can accept and repair it when they make a mistake, who raise emotionally more resilient, stronger children. When your child comes to you with all their crankiness and you also lose control and yell at them too, slam the door and leave, a rupture occurs in that invisible bond between you. The child gets scared. But the real event happens after the storm has passed, after both parties' heart rates have returned to normal. Going to your child after sitting down and taking a deep breath, getting down to their eye level and hugging them, saying, "I am so sorry I yelled at you just now. I was very tired and stressed at work today, and I was unfair to you. This was not your fault. I couldn't control my own anger. I love you very much," is one of the most powerful system updates that can be made in a child's developing brain. When you make this repair, your child doesn't just experience momentary relief, they encode this tremendous life lesson into their mind that they will use for many years. People can make mistakes. Even the ones we love the most can sometimes lose control. Relationships can break, people can get hurt, but love and connection are strong enough to repair all of this. Being broken doesn't mean the end. These moments of repair are like the famous art of kintsugi, where the Japanese mend broken pottery with gold powder. A repaired bond is much stronger, much more flexible, and much more valuable than a bond that has never been broken. The fact that your child can only behave badly towards you and that you can compassionately transform this badness and reweave the bond between you is actually the most absolute confirmation that they are your safe place. That child hugging your leg and crying pointlessly as soon as they walk through the door is actually saying from the deepest part of their soul, "Thank you for being here." But you should still try to stay calm as much as possible. So, do you experience those famous explosion at the door moments in your home? How does your child, who is like cotton and compliant all day at school, outside, or with others, undergo such a transformation the moment they see you? Have you ever thought that in those moments of emotional discharge, their crankiness actually stems from an immense trust they have in you? How do you cope in those difficult moments? Please share your stories, feelings, and experiences with me in the comments. I will try to read each and every one. If you enjoyed what I've shared, you can like the video and join the Little Observers family. Take great care of yourselves and those little cranky sweethearts. The information presented here is based on research and observations. It does not constitute absolute truth. Please evaluate the information in the video accordingly. Have a good day.